Hey everybody, welcome back to But Why Though Reviews. This week we are reviewing Dragon Ball Super Superhero. As always, I am Kate, editor-in-chief of But Why Though, and the head of the film, TV, and anime section over there. And I'm here with Adrian
Hey, how's it going?
and Nisha.
Hey y'all.
And I heard these two talk about Dragon Ball Superhero for about 2 hours in a hotel lobby bar while we were at Crunchyroll Expo. So I am here to listen to these two fine folks.
It was 3 hours, but who's counting?
Okay, three.
You went away for the third hour, and Adrian and I went back up to it.
So to kick things off, expectations when you found out this film was happening, and we'll start with Adrian.
Yeah, I really had zero expectations kind of going in. I didn't watch the trailer or anything like that. And also don't watch the trailer, y'all. If you're at home and you haven't seen the movie and you haven't, done any of that, don't watch the trailer. It gives way too much away. But I didn't really expect anything. And since Akira Toriyama is like taken back, some writing in the series, I think the anime specifically has been really, really good. So I expected to just go in and do what I always do and just go in and love a Dragon Ball movie. Yeah.
Nisha?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie. When we first got the news, we got that teaser trailer. I was like, "What is this animation?" I have feelings. I have concerns. However, I was just like, I'm going with zero expectations, kind of like Adrian. I'm just like, I'm not gonna make any judgments based off of the animation style just because it's very different than what we're used to. But like in the previous Dragon Ball films, they have switched up the animation. So I was like, let's just give it some faith and go into it blind. And I'm glad I did watch the trailer, so I didn't go in completely blind. And you're right, the trailer does give half the movie away, but I still enjoyed it.
That being said, we will not be giving as much as the trailer gave away. We're going to keep this review spoiler free since we are releasing this right before the film comes out. For my expectations, similar to Nisha, I was like, what's this animation? This is weird. I don't know how I feel, because CGI animation is something that can hit when done well and can not when Saint Seiya happens. So I was hesitant. But then I saw Alex Lee and Tina Robinson were like gonna be in it, and I was like, oh, I like these voice actors. So I was on board. So watching the film, all of us got to watch the Japanese and the English version. So that's where all this critique is going to come from. We did watch both, y'all. So first off, how did you all feel when the credits rolled? Adrian, we can start with you.
I had to go grab tissues for the tears that were in my eyes. And I think that like really says all you need to say. Like I felt like I know that Akira Toriyama doesn't know me at all. Right. But this is, this is my jam. It's my jam, and everything that I wanted it to be once I kind of figured out like what the plot was what I wanted it to be. So I walked out a very, very happy camper. I know that people are like, oh, Super Broly was like, one of the best recent movies, but I enjoyed this more than Broly, and I enjoyed Broly a whole lot. So that gives you any kind of bearing of how my excitement was after. There you go.
I'm not gonna lie. I wish I had watched it with you in a theater, because I watched Broly with you in a theater, and I was like, oh,
you would have seen
this
me
would have been
cry
good.
in person. You would have seen me cry in person. That's exactly what would have happened. I can't wait to see it in theaters. I'm so excited.
Nisha, what about you?
I feel like similarly, after the credits roll, I was just like, Broly to me is still like my favorite, just because he gave my boy agency. It gave him a voice. It gave him more than two lines, and instead of just saying Goku or Kakarot. But I really feel like when the credits rolls, I'm like, this is what we were promised after the Cell and Super Buu saga, and I felt like everything was right in the world.
Nature is healing.
Yes.
I like Dragon Ball Z, like everything about Dragon Ball for me is three characters. It's why I'm not deep in the lore, because I really only care about three people, and those people are Vegeta, Gohan, and Piccolo. So for me, this movie hit really well because it was all of this stuff that made me really love Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball as a property.
Mhm.
And I will say, like, I haven't really been super into I haven't been super into Super. Because I haven't binged it. I did start some of the manga mainly because of Nisha's chapter 60 piece
When
on
I wrote a
Vegeta.
dissertation about
When she
Vegeta's
wrote a
character development.
dissertation on Vegeta, because when you thirst for someone, you love it when they get their moments. But I have just always really appreciated found family and the idea that somebody can be a dad even if they're not like your biological dad. Yes, your girl has daddy issues. And so like that just really hits me hard. And so like as we go into like what this film did well, I think one of the things that it did extremely well was to showcase Piccolo as somebody who isn't just a mentor. Like this film is about him being a dad and a grandpa. Like that is what this film is about. Like he's not just some family friend like taking care of kids, he is the father. And I think that that is something that just felt really good to see, because it's almost like he got like the much needed I'm not saying like the series doesn't respect him, but like he got to be a pivotal part in such a big way of this film that I think if you are a fan of Piccolo, like this is you. It's the Junji Ito like thing from Agahara Falls where it's like the little person hole and it's like this was made for me. Which Adrian, you said this was made for you. Tell the
Yeah.
people why and what
I
it did
mean,
really well.
yeah, I think what it does well, it just gives people the time. In my review of the movie, I start off by talking about like what like these other movies do in the Dragon Ball franchise, and they're usually kind of off the wall. You might get like some characters on the side, like Bio Broly's, like all Goten's, and Trunks, but usually it's Vegeta and Goku coming in and saving the day. And you don't really get too much about anybody else's characters, but this really just gives everybody the time, specifically Gohan and Piccolo. And it works. It works, right? Like we're at such a point, and if you're familiar with like where they're at in Super, like these people are just ridiculously strong at this point. Way more than anything that if you haven't followed Super, way past, I'd say past like Super Saiyan 4 and things like that. We're way beyond that. So it's kind of hard to think like what's going to be a movie that's going to get people engaged that focuses on, the weaker characters of the Sea Fighters. And they pulled it off, and it sets up a convincing story, and it has themes that work with the characters that are in it, and it hits beginning to end, whether you're a new fan, not I wouldn't say new fan, but if you're coming back into it after like a very long time and you don't know any of these characters, it does a good job of bringing you in. And if you've been following this, it gives you something else that we haven't been getting in the anime, to a certain extent.
Nisha.
And it gives my boy Gohan justice. He's so, I love it.
I just want to note that like the poster behind Adrian is just perfect for this video also.
I
Just like
feel
I
like
keep looking at it.
I was gonna ask him to move his camera so that his face is in the middle, but then I was like, you know what? It's fine.
It's perfect.
It's fine.
Look, I only have statues of two people, and it's Piccolo and Gohan. My other two were downstairs. Kate's got me one of these. So like these are my two favorite people, and it's the reason why I love Dragon Ball so much. All the way back to scenes like this where Piccolo is training Gohan as a kid, and we get themes of that even in this. For Piccolo, so it's just continuing that note, like that theme of Piccolo just being like the best dad, grandpa, uncle, whatever the case is, and it builds on that, and it gets us back to kind of like that root of that Piccolo's like the best anime character and the person you want to be your dad.
Yes. Can Piccolo adopt me? But yeah, I think that like one of the things that like I want to say real quick is just that I don't know, like I think what you called out about it being good for people who've been out of like it's not a good first film. Like this isn't really it's not Jujutsu Kaisen 0. It's not going to be your gateway. But if you have been away from it, and I speak as this as somebody who has, it's that point to make you love it again. Like to remind you why you love it. Nisha, what about you?
Yeah, I really feel like this film gets back to like what Dragon Ball, the franchise, like overall. I say Dragon Ball and I mean Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Z. I mean it all. It gets back to like what it was Like previously, like there's comedy. It's the element of having the comedy and the action packed, like very well balanced is beautiful. Like it's not quite there's not a moment it's a moment where it's not quite fourth wall breaking, but it's kind of fourth wall breaking. It's like it's something I would read in a manga panel. Like and it was like that moment for me. I was like, yes, this like I love this. But then like, yeah, at the same time, we all have seen the formula of there's a big bad, everybody fights him, all hope is lost. Vegeta goes up. Piccolo, no, it's Piccolo goes up, gets knocked down. Gohan goes up, gets knocked down. Vegeta almost wins, gets knocked down, and then Goku comes in at the last minute to save
Oh,
everybody.
hi guys, were you fighting?
Hi guys, I'm sorry, I was training and no one could reach
Yeah.
me for hours, but I'm here now, but I need to eat. I'm Goku. I'm a bad father and a husband, but I love my kids. Okay, but anyways, I just
Hey, look, man, Vegeta's on that planet with Whis and Beers too. Okay.
he is.
He is.
But like
He is.
I think, and that's
He did
kinda
not
like,
show up to get his ass kicked in this movie.
he
Yeah.
did not.
He
But
did
I
not.
do love I mean, the thing I have loved about Super, specifically with the anime and the manga, has been like it really corrected some of like the sore spots I had with Dragon Ball Z, where I was worn out with Goku always being the hero. And like in more recent arcs in the manga, you see a shift in that. And like this movie for me is definitely a big shift from that, where I'm like, yes, let's give Gohan some shine. Let's give Piccolo some shine. Like Dragon Ball is such a big universe. I would really like to see this continue with us putting other like focuses on other characters. And I think this was a great step forward. But I do agree. I think as a first time movie, like maybe if you're like younger, like a kid, like I could take my god brother to go see this movie. And maybe it would pique his interest about Dragon Ball. But I just don't know if I would just introduce it to like random friends. I would rather
Yeah.
like take them to like Dragon Ball Super Brawly, because I think
Yeah.
that one actually is perfect for a beginner, because that literally sets up the entire same race in the
And
Yeah.
story.
yeah, and I think like the important thing to note here is like, so the synopsis of Dragon Ball Superhero is the Red Ribbon Army was once destroyed by Son Goku. Individuals who carry on its spirit have created the ultimate androids, Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. These two androids call themselves superheroes. They start attacking Piccolo and Gohan. What is the new Red Ribbon Army's objective in the face of approaching danger? It is time to awaken the superhero. And like I think that like that pretty much tells
That's such
you
a
what this
good
is.
synopsis.
It
Holy
is, right?
moly.
It gives away nothing. It gives away
Nothing.
nothing. It just tells you immediately that callbacks will be made. And I think that
Yes.
that's why this isn't necessarily like a super like first timer friendly film,
Mhm.
because it is so ingrained it's ingrained in the Cell Saga. It is
Yes.
ingrained in like things that existing fans have seen and know, and
Mhm.
like some of like the larger parts of it. And I think that you kind of need that reference to get the emotional weight of the payoff at the end, which I think is also something that this film does well, is it pays homage to all of those big moments, but it never feels like it's repeating them. Like there's a
Mhm.
different emotional weight for each success and each
Mhm.
fight that I think is really well.
Yeah. Yeah, and to go back to your point earlier, I think what it does well too is it gets back to the basics of like the humor and things like that. You know, I
Yeah.
think that's a little bit lost in Resurrection F and Battle of the Gods and even to Broly to some extent, where that kind of just goofiness of Dragon
Yeah.
Ball. If you remember
They
back to
mentioned
when
Piccolo's driving license.
yes,
Right.
they
Piccolo
mention
holding the
it.
Where
phone
is
like
it? I was gonna
this.
say, I was like, he's like this.
Yeah. You know, they just reference back to like the goofiness of what made Dragon Ball, you know, before Dragon Ball Z like so great. So it just bridges that gap so well.
Mhm.
And the fight scenes are great. I personally I liked the new animation. It reminded me a lot of like the video games, which I, you know, grew up on. So I enjoyed that. And I think we've been getting such new animations in the movies anyway, like Broly, Battle of the Gods.
Broly
I mean,
was a
they're
hybrid. Like
yeah.
Broly had the
Mhm.
2D with 3D.
Yeah, exactly. And then they kind of up the ante on the 2D in Battle of the Gods and like Resurrection F, like when they're like breaking the universe type things. That's stuff that we've never really seen in Dragon Ball before. So I think it's just progression of kind of where they're at, and they're just trying new things, and I can commend them for that, because they could have easily just made this like a basic, you know, animation anime thing, but they kind of like push the envelope a little bit, and I appreciate them pushing it, and it works, especially like if you're familiar with the video games, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people who are Dragon Ball fans are. It's familiar, so it's just a feel good thing, just
It
beginning
is.
to end. Everything is just like, this takes me back to the olden times.
I honestly want this as a video game now. Like, please, please, Akira Toriyama, whoever I need to talk to, Toei, someone make it a video game. But I
Well, wasn't
agree.
like Dragon Ball Kakarot video game just playing through the
Yes,
story of Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah,
yes, and
basically,
I
yeah.
want this to be a DLC now, please.
Yeah.
This will be so fun as a DLC. But I think I would want to say, like I said, like before, I did have reservations about the animation because I was just like, I don't know about CGI. Like, what is it going to look like? And I will say that teaser trailer, I thought it looked rough, but after seeing the movie, I'm like, nah, this is good. This is really good. And I do commend them for like pushing it further and progressing further with animation styles because like I think in my interview with Zeno at Crunchyroll Expo, he even said, "Well, who wouldn't want to see a Kamehameha in 3D? Who wouldn't
Yeah.
want to see that?" And we see that, and it looks glorious.
Yeah, and then I think they're gonna have it in IMAX theaters, right? So like if you're in a
Yeah.
place that where you feel comfortable to go into the movie theaters, I can't even imagine what this looks like on
Yeah.
a huge screen with the surround sound and everything like that blasting. Whether you watch it in dub or sub, I'm sure it's fantastic.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think like to that point, like I was also kind of rough on the animation, but seeing it actually played out, like I think that it was a really good hybrid between clearly using like computer generated animation technology while also honoring the 2D art that Akira Toriyama has like influenced all of like manga and anime with, right? Like, and I think that like finding that they did what Saint Seiya couldn't. Like Saint Seiya was like, we're just gonna do pure 3D, and they were like,
Yeah.
we're gonna do a hybrid. We're going to showcase it all and use the 3D when it fits. And I think that that's where the action sequences shine because, like, for me, my biggest fault with like action sequences in shonen has always and will always be little zips of light, and you don't actually see what's happening. And we've come a long way from that. And I think that this is kind of just evolving what an action sequence can look like in the universe. And I do think that that brings us into like the next point, which is like the original characters. Like Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 are amazing.
I love them so much, and I would like some plushies, please.
Yes.
I just want some plushies of them because like honestly, I love how there's like it's the straight man and funny man thing between them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like one is just very much like I'm a hero and cocky, and y'all can already guess that's Zeno's character. But then the
Gamma
other
2.
one is and then Alex's Gamma 1 is just very straight laced, serious,
Yeah.
all about it. And but
Yeah.
they just play so well off of each other. I love the chemistry between them and every character they talk to.
Yeah, and they have their own, payoff and arc in the story too that works really, really well. And they have some pretty heavy character moments and callbacks, like other things that happen that make you care for them just as much as you do, seeing everybody else. And the superhero motif is fantastic.
It's so just him
with
pulling
Gohan,
out
like
like the
it's
POW and
perfect.
stuff behind
Yeah.
him.
Yes.
Yeah. It just works so well, and to have like the superheroes be like the main, antagonist. I use that term loosely like here, but like that's crazy because you have Gohan, who was the great Saiyaman, at one point. He was like a true, the OG superhero like in this universe. And now he's dealing with these androids who think that they're like the ones doing the right thing. And it creates a really cool dynamic while like, very, not hard to understand. This plot isn't extensive by any means of the imagination, but what Dragon Ball plot is, but it's still fun and engaging and gives you something new, for people who've been following this franchise for like 30 years.
So I think like one of the things, so as we kind of like transition a little, is I think this movie was like pretty close to perfect, I think my only issues was I wanted more Android 18 because she's still around, and she like the Android piece is actually something that could have been explored more. And like she's amazing. I would have liked a little bit more Videl instead of necessarily like Bulma. Personally, I know why Bulma's there, and I love Bulma, like she's my girl, but like I feel like that would have done better with Videl because I also love Videl like a lot. that was only my thing. And also very specifically how Krillin like pocket sands people to like save them. And I'm like, the women of Dragon Ball are really dope. Like they don't need Krillin's pocket sand. Like you could have just had
Don't you dare take away Krillin's moment. Don't no. You can take away anyone's moment, but not poor. He's getting dogged that entire movie. He's getting dogged by everybody, including 18, that
That's fair.
entire
That's fair.
movie.
18 can dog him though, because like she loves him.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
I mean,
good
and I
for her.
understand it's hard because like there's other like where's where are some of the other Z fighters? Because there's some other Z fighters who we don't see. But it's also kind of hard to put them in there, you know.
Well, and that's why I mentioned specifically them, because Android
Yeah.
18 does show up and Bulma
Yeah.
is there, and I feel like you could have swapped in Videl. And like
Yeah,
it is
Videl
still
would've
like
been dope.
Piccolo and Gohan's movie. I just
Mhm.
think that like the women of Dragon Ball are so badass. I am continually tired of seeing them not get like just I just want to scrap. Like I'm not even asking for much. I just want to scrap. Just like a little bit.
No, Kate, they're there to look cool
bit.
and badass and pretty.
However, I still am a big fan of Bulma using her mighty power of her Saiyan children and husband to go get the Dragon Balls to lose wrinkles. I don't know why that still takes me out. And I'm like, you know what, girl? Yes. Yes.
I love it, but I'm also just like, you could just wish to be a Saiyan by now, ma'am. Just wish to be a Saiyan or half a Saiyan. I would have. Come on. But no, I do agree. I really did like there was like some like I guess I know this wasn't her movie, and like I mean if Akira Toriyama wants to give us an Android 18 movie, I actually would love that. However, I like the whole thing of this kind of being connected to Dr. Gero and like and you know branching off from the Cell saga. It kind of would have been interesting to see a little bit more from Android 18 in those areas. Granted, because like she has some trauma related to Dr. Gero and the Cell saga. Not that I'm thinking like she needed an entire arc in the film, but if any character were to get a little bit more, I would have liked that. And I do agree because we see Videl, but it's really just like it's again, Videl's a housewife. It's kind of like how the women in Naruto are like just the moms now. And I'm just like, I kind of miss Videl being this kick-ass
the other
like,
superhero to the great Saiyan, you know.
and it would have been great.
Yeah.
She can fly, I think still. I think she still knows how to fly.
Yeah.
She could have been a help. I don't know.
So I will say I do appreciate Piccolo just being like, oh my God, I'm having to take care of a child again because his parents are doing nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, but the fact I did love kind of the fact that like, oh, never mind. I feel like that's kind of a spoiler. The other Z fighters that show up, I love that they're the comedic relief in this, and they're not the hero. Besides Krillin and 18, I will just leave it at that. The two that show up are the comedy now, and I kind of like that switch in the focus in the series, where it's like, oh yeah, no, they're strictly for comedy right now.
Yeah, and I think the way that I chalk it up, because I would have loved more too, but one, you just have such a short runtime, right? Either just give me another movie then. Just give me another movie. Let's do this all over again. But I think they established exposition wise. I think there's another thing that the movie does really well. It just gives like the exposition on like why things are happening.
Yeah.
Very, very well. So I think it's just like a power scaling thing at the end of the day. You know.
I agree.
Yeah, so you can't have some of those other Z fighters who are memes come in and fight people who are stronger than Piccolo at this point, who's pretty
just in a fetal position in a crater.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't care about that, man.
And then obviously, like the androids, these are androids based off of Dr. Gero's thing. So if 18 went in there like guns blazing, she probably is going to be in some trouble because they probably know, her self-destruct button that no one else knows about or something. But more Videl would have been awesome for sure. Just for the fact that I would love to see them both like in the suits again.
Oh,
just for my own.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just for my own heart.
100%.
Were either of you kind of surprised that the suit that the Great Saiyan Man did not come into play at all? Like
that,
yeah.
That's a little bit of a critique. Yes,
right.
Yeah.
Just going off I also feel like it's corny, but also I just feel like it's intrinsically tied to Gohan's corniness.
It is, because like that he's not someone cool. Like he doesn't even like he I think he's very cool, but like he's not like showing up in that pink Batman shirt. He's dressing up as Great
No.
Saiyaman with his girlfriend,
Yeah.
and like
It's
like
cool,
that's
right?
what he does, and that like that quirkiness.
Don't I look
and that
awesome? Yeah.
that
I think
quirkiness and cuteness is like essential to him.
yeah,
It
I'm
is.
hoping that this just sets up that we get more stuff, maybe we get Gohan as like the superhero that he's always wanted to
I mean, because
be.
most of the
And maybe
movies,
that's
Piccolo,
this is yeah.
Piccolo reminds me of like a parent who's like, "You could have been so much. Why are you
Yeah.
just doing this?"
Yeah.
Right.
And he
It's
does it in a
like-
great way, right? Not like letting his son get
Oh,
beat
yeah.
half to
Yes.
death and then
Right.
like
That is fair.
I also
Uh,
just I think it's interesting because I do love the fact that Piccolo's just in this stage of just like, no, you can't keep depending on Vegeta and your father. You just can't. I mean, Piccolo's not wrong. They have died twice each, at least. And
That's
he
a
makes
little death with the great Shenron.
eventually they will die and stay dead. that is
Krillin
what Piccolo-
hasn't.
We don't know
hey, my
that
boy
yet.
has a power of pocket sand, okay? No one's taking him out.
But are you gonna leave the world to Krillin when you have Gohan there? No, no,
He's
no
literally
Krillin
the
friends
strongest
get-
human on Earth,
He's the
okay? Give my boy
strongest
some
human.
credit.
What does that do against a god? What's a go to a goblin? Do I have to go
What's a
Kanye?
policeman to a god?
Literal other god beings are in the
He
universe.
just
There's a
needs,
multiverse.
just ask Shenron, give him some more power, He should be the
Oh.
one wishing to be a Saiyan for sure.
Yeah, that's fair.
Krillin would be a badass Saiyan. He would be the perfect Saiyan, I think.
He's so small too.
He
He'd be
would, and
adorable.
he also loves an aggressive woman, so he would fit right in.
So, with that being said, we will go to final thoughts. Do you think someone should watch this movie and give them one reason why or why not? Adrian, we can start with you.
Yeah, you should watch this movie if you're a fan of Dragon Ball. It's just point blank. If you know the franchise, you should watch the film because it's a culmination of everything that makes the franchise great without giving you the ending you expect.
Mm-hmm.
Nisha?
Yeah, I would say same. If you're a fan of Dragon Ball, if you've honestly been hungry, if you've been honestly more specifically, if you're a fan of Gohan, you should definitely watch this movie. If he was your boy back in the day, go watch this movie because I really feel like it's a payoff for those fans who love Gohan. And you also get Piccolo. Piccolo gets some shine too. So if you are fans of those two characters, go watch this movie. And I also will say just the original characters, Chef's Kiss, I love them. So I'll get those are two reasons and I'll shut up now.
I am also in a you should go watch this movie mainly because it reminded me of all the things that I love about Dragon Ball. It is humor, it has joy, and I think that people need that right now. So I think that this is definitely one to jump into with some friends, some family, and just enjoy the ride. Piccolo. Also Piccolo and Gohan.
Yeah,
Like,
Piccolo,
yes.
the pocket Saiyan.
Pop Piccolo, as I like to call him. Pop Piccolo.
Pop Piccolo.
Pop
Yeah.
Piccolo.
That's it. That's why you go see this.
Adrian, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me primarily on Twitter at SuperReese93. Wow, I just realized that like my title is like a super thing because of Dragon Ball. I think that's where I got it from, actually. I'm just having a moment right here. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter there. And then also, my review of the film is on butwhythough.net. And, you can find me here on YouTube reviewing stuff with people.
Nisha?
Yeah, y'all can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Nisha Plays. Also, if y'all haven't seen it yet, check out our interview that we did with Zena Robinson, Alex, and Kyle Hebert. And yeah, it was really fun. It was really great talking to them at Crunchyroll Expo. And I feel like a lot of people enjoy their thoughts on the film too.
And I will I will link both the review and Nisha's interview in the little section thingy below. And you can find me at omamithrandir on Twitter and at omamithrandir on Instagram. That's where all my anime and manga content is. Not that it's not on Twitter, it is just exclusively that on Instagram. And you can keep up with us at butwhythough.net We dropped the podcast, thankfully. Please don't credit us as that anymore. Thank you. And if you want to join this conversation in real time, join our Discord at discord.gg/BUTWHYTHO. Thank you. And I don't know a Dragon Ball sign off. Somebody do it.
Hold on.
This is where we need Grant. This is
Where we need
need
Grant.
Well, you
from
can get the
Gilmore Ball
voice.
Z.
Okay. Will Goku ever become a good father? Will Bulma ever figure out a serum so she doesn't have to use the Dragon Balls to make her skin useful again? And will Gohan ever exceed everyone's expectations? Find out next time on But Why Though .net.